At her senior living facility, sick mom acquired a new buddy named Andy who wanted to take care of her prescriptions. I installed cameras and saw her harming my mother in this way. My 70-year-old mother, who is 40 years old, has been on hospice care for a long period. She was residing in an independent living facility with apartments for the elderly. I assumed that she had been living there for 6 or 7 months and had made a few casual friends among the elderly, but she had generally stayed to herself. A woman approached us with my mom a few weeks ago while my boys and I were visiting her. We live close down the street and go there frequently. When I reached out to introduce myself, the woman rejected the handshake and embraced me instead, saying, "Oh, I only give hugs to family, and we're pretty much family." Alright, that's a little strange coming from someone I've never met before and haven't even heard of her mentioned once. But I essentially ignore it, assuming she's simply lonely or something. When I questioned my mother about this new acquaintance, she simply said that they had met at the elderly people's facility and that she had been a great friend to her ever since. Excellent. I adore it when my mother has pals. Having friends is crucial. However, I'm not sure why, but this woman just keeps sending me strange emotions. I find a couple things strange. 1. This new acquaintance chose to move in with my mom, who is moving this weekend to a more conventional apartment complex, because she loved the new complex so much. She hasn't finished her flat yet. However, next month she will be relocating to the same building as my mother. 2. They had been acquainted for perhaps 2 months when she reportedly got my mom's dog. I have the finest aunt in the world, a hoodie for Christmas. 3. I don't really know why, but she contacted me the other day as well, I suppose to give me her phone number and to properly introduce herself. She mentioned taking care of my mom a lot. And I said, "Oh, I can manage her medications for her if you want," even though I was grateful for the offer. It might be better for them to just concentrate on being friends rather than her exhausting herself trying to care for her, because there are many controlled medications and hospice prefers to keep as few people involved in the medication stuff as possible. She went straight to my mom and made it seem like I was talking trash about my own mom, saying things like she's just an exhausting person and other such things. My new friend lied when I challenged her about going to my mom and sharing our private talk in a very biased manner, claiming that my mom had taken her phone and read all of the text conversations. Instead of texting, it was done over the phone. I knew it wouldn't get anywhere, so I dropped it when she kind of stuttered when I pointed out there were no texts. 4. I can hear this woman directing my mom what to say or making comments whenever I speak to her on the phone. And while none of it is obviously concerning, I feel as like I am unable to communicate with anybody other than my mother. I tend to think the best of others and am a very trusting person. Furthermore, this woman has been really kind to me throughout our conversations, and I haven't had any specific grounds to question her motives. I can't get rid of the sensation that something is amiss, though. I talked to my mom about my feelings for this new friend yesterday, and she didn't get defensive at all. However, she disagreed with me, stating that her new friend is merely being helpful and offering to help with things because she knows my mom isn't the most organized person and could use the assistance. I pleaded with my mother to exercise caution, to build the connection gradually, to keep it just that a friendship and to allow me, her real family, take care of the caregiving duties. Even though my mom's prescriptions haven't changed, she has been acting more erratic recently and seems as though she has stopped taking them. But I only give her 1 pill at a time and the others are always locked away, so it isn't that. However, I grabbed my mom's credit and debit cards just to be careful because she's been more confused recently, and I don't want anyone to take advantage of her money. If it's not money or medicine, could you please tell me what this woman would stand to gain by standing in my mom's way? I'm not sure how to do a background check or whether it's permitted for anyone to do so. However, I did research this new buddy on a few websites and all I discovered was that she had a number of other names, but I was unable to uncover anything else. We're in California, and if anyone knows of any decent ones, I'll pay for a background check. Is anyone else concerned about any of this? Or am I simply being overly protective of my mother? Oh, I nearly forgot. The other day, I contacted one of my mom's oldest and closest friends to inquire whether she had met his new acquaintance, and, if so, what she thought. I don't know why, but I simply get a nasty feeling about her, she admitted candidly. She seems to be up to no good, in my opinion. I felt better after hearing this since I realize I'm not the only one who has seen anything, but I'm not sure what to do about it all. Update 1. I sincerely appreciate all of your replies and wise counsel. I apologize for being absent for so long after my initial post, but there have been a lot of things going on. In order to process everything and handle the constant blows from real life, I needed to take a break. I went to speak with my mother just after my last post. She consented to let me install 2 cameras in her flat after I voiced my worries. I was taking my kids back to my house on moving day, so I was gone from the apartment for a short while. When I opened the camera app to check the settings, I heard the buddy and my mother discussing me. It was not pleasant, and it appeared that the buddy was only setting the stage to interfere with my relationship with my mother. My mother was actively participating in it. When I returned to the apartment, the friend, I'll just call her Fran for convenience, was gone. But I had a confrontation with my mother. I was weeping as I told her how painful it is to hear my own mother taking part in a disparaging discussion about me, considering all that I have done and will continue to do for her. It was terrible. She and I both sobbed. In the end, though, I had at least persuaded her that Fran was not acting in a decent manner. Mom decided to put some distance between her and Fran, and she told Fran right away that she could no longer act in such a way toward me, and that she was not allowed to discuss anything related to me. Fran appeared to comprehend and gave me a weak justification for her actions, which I didn't believe for a moment. After a week or two of peace and quiet, I contacted my mother one morning to see how she was doing. I discovered that she was out running errands with Fran. After pressing for further details, I discovered that Fran had brought my mother to the bank to get a new debit card. Fran was well aware that I had stolen my mother's debit card with her consent, because she was experiencing more periods of dementia and didn't know who or what she was spending the money on, due to the fact that my mother failed to give me her old debit card. For me, that was the last straw. I texted Fran the following that evening. "Hello, Fran. I wanted to let you know that although I know my mom values your relationship, I do not like you becoming involved in things you have no business doing. She informed me that you two were going to the bank today to acquire a card. Mom and I are in control of her finances together, so we don't require any help, no matter how well-intentioned, to get her in line. In order to ensure that she has access to the things she needs and that no one else does, she has requested me to take her card again, the new one, and to set me as the primary account holder. I want to think you're genuinely trying to help my mom, but when you get into money matters, friendships become much more difficult. It works for us that I take care of all of my mom's financial and medical needs. Although my mom is grateful that you are her friend, she doesn't require care. I can take care of it. Should you truly wish to be her friend, you should take 10 large steps back and assess how you come across to me. Because in my opinion, it appears that you are straddling the line of elder abuse, and while I'm sure you wouldn't want me to call the police, that is precisely what will happen if things keep going in this direction." Fran had a cliched response that was similar to, "Oh my word, I merely wanted to assist your mom, and I would never take advantage of anybody, etc. Oh, and I believe that I am to blame for our poor start, daughter. But I would like to start afresh. More blah." I never really responded to Fran, and she has, surprise, stopped contacting my mother. We'll see whether she emerges from the shadows again, though, as I think she is scheduled to move into the apartment complex this weekend. I believe she realizes that I can see right through her attempts to distance herself from my mom, and that she will have to concentrate her efforts on con artists elsewhere. I also informed my mother's social worker and hospice nurses. I also purchased a really clever pill dispenser. I won't mention anything since I'm not endorsing anything, but please don't hesitate to contact me if you need assistance with drug management for any family members. It's pricey and certainly out of reach for many people, but for me, being able to keep my mom's medications organized and safe has changed everything. I receive notifications each time it distributes a pill, since that is secured and connects to an app. The fact that Fran had no access to my mom's prescription drugs at all gave me a lot of relief. But the trip to the bank made it clear to me what Fran was after. I informed the bank that Fran could be with my mother. They must get in touch with me right away. Overall, I believe that most of you are right. Fran was either trying to use my mom for financial gain or was already doing so, but I was fortunate enough to catch her before any harm was done. I believe she is avoiding me since I have made my stance on Fran quite apparent. My mom claims that Fran will be working at the independent living facility when she leaves, so I believe I still need to get in touch with them regarding my worries about her. I promise I'm not making this up. Furthermore, I don't want her to be able to exploit other people. Once again, I want to thank everyone who responded and contacted me with information or guidance. I read all of the responses, and I even read many to my mother. Seeing Fran for who she truly is was a huge boost to her. September 30th, 2024, Update 2. I appreciate everyone who consistently asks me how my mom is doing and whether there have been any developments. All things considered, my mom is still receiving hospice care and is doing well. Although she has her good and bad days, I'm thankful that she has been coherent for the most part lately. F has mainly gone missing. Thankfully, I've urged her to beat it without hesitation ever since. Since then, the only time I've heard from her is when F phoned me and left a message asking how my mom was doing because her phone wasn't functioning. I let her read. Therefore, even though my mom claims to have cut her out entirely, that indicated to me that she hasn't. However, I have taken control of any opportunity F could have to use my mother, with my mother's approval. I informed the social worker and hospice nurses, and I also informed F that I had done so. Additionally, my mom at last met some better friends who live close by and helped watch over her for me. I told F that I wouldn't think twice about going to the police if given a reason, but I didn't go since I didn't think I had a case. I'll keep you all updated if F returns to my mom's company or if I have any further suspicions. However, my mom is protected right now since I manage all of her medications and funds, making it impossible for anybody to try to take anything away from her. I appreciate everyone's attention and caring. They want her medications, according to the comments in which OP responded, SNU Ideas 8483. Yes, I had the same notion, which is why I firmly locked them away. In order to monitor her medicine at all times, my mom consented to having a camera placed just over her dispenser. In addition to being quite nice, the gizmo I gave her sends me a text message if the door is ever unlocked. Not that it could be, given even my mother is unaware of the passcode. Therefore, several measures are in place to guarantee that anyone ever gets into any of her belongings. The next tale. After refusing to bless my fiancé and giving him 2 rejections, Dad broke off communication. Currently, he claims that he will only attend my wedding if I refuse to have my stepdad lead me down the aisle. My fiancé, 21M, and I, 23F, became engaged a few months ago. We are ecstatic. But my father declined to approve, and as a result, he is not only not attending my wedding but is also severing all of our communication. The worst thing? He is bringing his entire family with him. I'm beginning to question whether I'm the villain in this situation. Let me clarify. My dad and I have never been particularly close. I hardly recall my parents together after they split when I was a baby. My stepdad has been a good father figure ever since my mom remarried when I was 4 years old. I grew up largely with my mom, my brother, and my stepdad because she had 80% custody. We all got along really well. Regarding my dad, we had a good but shallow connection. I saw him once a week, and every other weekend he lived 2 minutes from my mom's place. Although I stopped going as frequently once I became 18, we would still periodically get together for dinner, perhaps once or twice a month. The problem is that I started dating my fiancé, Arch, when I was 22, and he was 20. We were close friends right away after meeting in a youth group. Some people may think it's quick, but when you know, you know. My life would be impossible without him. Arch wanted to get okay from my dad, my mom, and my stepdad before popping the question. My parents were overjoyed and instantly bestowed their blessings. But my father wasn't as helpful. Even though he was retired and had plenty of spare time, he avoided Arch for weeks. My father arrived with 2 printed letters, one for Arch and one for me, indicating that he would not grant his blessing when they eventually met. He handed out the letters without even allowing Arch to ask the inquiry. Additionally, he called Arch's request for my stepfather's approval absurd and mocked it. Arch stood up for my stepdad, but it was too late. After some prodding, he told me what had transpired when he got home in a distressed state. I felt insulted and upset, especially when he downplayed my stepdad's importance in my life. I met my dad at a park to discuss things after I had calmed down for a few days. It didn't work out. My father informed me that neither he nor his family would be attending the wedding. I asked him straight out, "You won't attend the wedding if I get engaged?" "No," he responded bluntly. "Are you saying you want nothing to do with me if I go through with this?" I inquired. His answer: "I'm not sweating." At that point, I became agitated. Up until that moment, I was keeping my composure, but his lack of concern really wounded me. Perhaps he would change his mind if we waited another 2 years to get engaged. He said at the end of the talk that he would not be involved in any manner or pay for the wedding. Arch made the proposal a few days later. It was a wonderful evening. Our family were present save for my dad and his fiancée, and everything was ideal. We made social media posts about it. There was also total radio silence from my dad's side as friends and relatives greeted us with congratulations. I began questioning myself. Perhaps I had acted too quickly? Perhaps I was at fault. I thus made contact with him. I sent him a sincere text message letting him know that he is my father and that I wanted him to be my father's man at my wedding. His answer? He requested my email address. I gave it to him, bewildered. I got a lengthy, really emotional email a few hours later. He said that I had insulted him and ruined what ought to have been a memorable moment between a father and daughter. He said that Arch and I were to blame for our relationship's breakdown and that it would require a great deal of work to mend it. "But you got exactly what you wanted," he said in closing. "We are being supported by Arch's family, my mom, and my stepdad. Since my dad pulled out, my mom and stepdad have volunteered to cover the wedding expenses. Although organizing the wedding has been enjoyable, this whole issue has made me wonder if I am truly at fault. Thus, Reddit AITA for proceeding with my engagement and wedding arrangements in spite of my father's disapproval. Since there have been several comments about this, change one has been made. For him and his family, money is not a problem. Therefore, he is not attempting to avoid paying for the wedding, and the 2 years of waiting have nothing to do with saving. He has been in retirement for a long time. Edit 2. Since I am unable to respond to every remark that mentions this, I will post it here. I suppose out of respect, I wanted my fiancé to ask my parents. Although we saw it as a means of including them in this next phase of life rather than as a request for his consent to marry me, I always found it to be a charming gesture. I apologize, but I'm not sure how to put it into words. In addition, my mom and his relationship was always quite cordial, and I would even say that they have been friends for the entirety of my life. My mom and stepdad would bring him and his fiancée to our gatherings, and there were never any arguments, at least not in front of my brother and me. I can make some educated guesses as to why they got divorced, but I'm not positive. It simply wasn't a topic of conversation. I should also note that, contrary to what some commentators have said, they decided on custody on their own and avoided a legal struggle. He moved out and lived 2 minutes away, so there was never a custody battle. My mom didn't want his money, so there was also never a struggle over it. All she wanted was to remain home and celebrate Christmas with us. Remarks to which the operator has responded, information, or one, did your parents get married when you were young? No, I'm not very young. However, they were married really quickly. After 11 months, my mom wedded her current spouse, whom she had known since I was 4 years old. He told me it wasn't really about that when I brought it up to him during our lengthy conversation to see if that was his explanation. On whether the argument may have been caused by her father's fiancé, I know why. But it's possible, Before all of this, she and I had a wonderful relationship. Though they weren't particularly close, they always looked forward to seeing each other. Since all of this, I haven't heard from her. Could you tell me what the potential issue was that her father wasn't telling her? I ask myself the same question. I believe that he initially sought the blessings of my mother and stepfather. I've spoken to my fiancé, my mother, his parents, and a few other individuals who may be seen as mentors to us, and I believe he believes we're too young. To make sure we are making the correct choices and to maintain a strong marriage and relationship, we participate in couples therapy. Was and her father really that close? Oh, I see. I have always respected and cherished him as my father, even if we are not close. I've always wanted to have a father-daughter dance with him and my stepdad after they accompany me down the aisle. His reaction to all of this information has me even more perplexed. 28th September 2024. I hadn't spoken to my dad since this whole event happened, which was around 4 months ago, until a few days ago. I had his notifications turned off, so I didn't immediately notice when he contacted me. I literally dropped everything when I finally noticed it as I was leaving work. My Celsius and the lip liner that came out of my purse, you will be missed. I am messaging you because we need to talk, he wrote in his message. I considered not answering at all, but ultimately my worry and, let's face it, my peace of mind won out. I responded to the text by saying that I'm willing to talk as long as it's focused on the future and not on the past. The next day, we planned a call. He begins the call by declaring that his love for me hasn't altered. Almost instantly after that, he shifts to talking about how angry and unhappy he is that he had to initiate contact. What? Then he inquired as to whether a wedding date had been chosen. In the hopes that he might alter his mind, I informed him that it would be late next year. However, no. He then said, "Do you have a venue?" "Yes," I replied. His answer? "Thus this is taking place. Of course I'm not telling any family members not to travel. They can decide to do it. No sides exist." Since no one in the family is aware of my perspective, I attempted to convey that there are other viewpoints. With the exception of my grandmother, who has made it apparent that she supports him, I don't have a close relationship with that side of the family. He interrupted me, stating that he didn't want to spend too much time on the phone. That was the only thing he said. He agreed when I asked if I might ask him a question before he hung up. "Do you stand by your decision not to come?" I inquired. "It depends on how I'm treated," he said. Right now I'm in complete awe. I had never treated him disrespectfully, so I asked him to explain. Then all was revealed. He believes it would be utterly insulting to him if I allowed both him and my stepdad to accompany me down the aisle since he feels deserving of the title of father of the bride. He continued by emphasizing that my biological father, my stepfather, should never have been sought for his approval because it was not his. The only way he would think about attending the wedding is if he were given the respect he merits as the bride's father. The worst part was that he told me my mom needed to contact him to discuss everything. All right, my mother, however, is not amenable to that. She is guarding her peace by not calling him, which is understandable, as she ought to. He may pick up the phone and tell her directly if he wants to speak with her. I'm still in shock. I had every intention of inviting him at first, but now, I am at a loss for words. It feels so screwed up all over. My mom and stepdad are furious, as are the parents of my fiancé. To be honest, I have no idea. I didn't anticipate providing an update at all, much less this quickly. However, here we are. Since that call, I haven't spoken to him, and I'm considering sending him a letter. But before I make a decision, I want to spend a few days to collect myself. I'll provide another update if I do send anything. This is the current situation.